Alright, so we're going to start off this video getting real, alright? Tiago Lemos has more pop than you. I'm sorry mate, but it's true. So to the average muggle skater like me or you, the stuff that he does is going to seem insane. But for him, it's not going to seem as crazy because the way that he perceives the world is going to be different to how me and you perceive it. So in this video, I'm going to be going over why that is, along with what we can do to activate our Tiago Lemos goggles to change how we perceive the world and make it seem easier to skate. So it seems like common sense to assume that two people looking at the same thing or the same spot are going to see it in the same way, but that's actually not true. So your brain warps and stretches things based on your physical abilities and your skill level on your board to make those things seem either bigger or smaller or easier or harder to skate. For example, research shows that people who are tired, elderly, or carrying a heavy backpack perceived a hill to be steeper. Baseball players who are hitting well perceive their balls to be bigger than they are. Okay, well that wasn't well said. They perceive the balls that they're playing with to be bigger than they are. And people who are well experienced doing parkour perceive walls to be smaller than people who have no experience doing parkour. So every skater is also going to see the world completely differently. Most of us wouldn't have even looked at that ledge that Tiago switchback-tailed and thought that that was even skatable. Most of us wouldn't have looked at this rail that Nigel 50'd and thought it was skatable, or this gap that Jaws did as skatable either. But the better you are on your board and the more physically capable you are to do the physical things that we need to do when we skate, then the more your brain is going to warp and stretch the world to make it seem actually more skatable. So if you imagine yourself having a load of stat bars like you have on Tony Hawk's with different skate abilities like pop, flip speed, balance, but also a load of physical abilities as well, things like jump height, power, strength, endurance, recovery time. The lower that all of these stat bars are going to be, the harder you're going to see different obstacles to skate and the less you'll perceive yourself as actually being able to do. So if we take 3 different ledges, A, B and C, each one being increasingly bigger than the last, if you start increasing your stats related to jump height, pop, power, then you're going to start perceiving each of those ledges as increasingly more possible to skate. And if you increase your endurance stat, then you're going to maintain that perception for longer throughout the session because you're going to be able to maintain a higher level of skating for longer. And the same goes with gaps as well. So if we imagine 3 gaps, P, Q and 1207B, then the more you increase your strength stat, then the more you're going to perceive yourself as able to absorb those higher impacts and you're going to start seeing those bigger gaps as more possible. So it's not like anything outside of you has actually changed. The world is still objectively exactly the same, but you've objectively changed what you can physically handle. You've raised the bar for what your body can do and your mind can do, which has then changed how you perceive the world. You've started to think like, all right, I can handle more shit, I can handle more impacts, I've got more pop. So then you start seeing things outside of you as more skatable. So all of this actually makes sense because if you're objectively less physically capable, then your brain is going to purposely limit what you think you're able to do so you don't go out and just destroy yourself. Otherwise you would go out and like jump off a 5-story building, suffocate yourself in a bowl of soup. This change in perception is actually there to protect you, but sometimes we don't want to be protected. Sometimes we want to override it and skate how we want to skate. So that's what we're going to get to now. We're going to go over how you can activate your Tiago Lemos goggles as well. And if you're thinking, I don't have them, yes you do. Look under your bed, look in your kitchen cabinet, they're there. Alright, so people are going to be hyped to hear that the number one thing that you need to do is literally just to skate. So you need to skate on a regular basis. You need to expose your body and mind to a load of different kinds of styles of skating because that's not only going to make your body adapt, but it's also going to make your mind adapt as well. Because if you imagine when you started skating, the stuff that you can do now, you wouldn't have even thought as possible back then. But because you've gradually, little by little, exposed your mind and your body to different things and to harder things, it started to learn like, all right, shit, I can actually do this, I can do that. So skating is number one and you've got to do it regularly, you've got to do it progressively. Bish bash bosh, tickle me Josh. All right, so the second method that you're probably not going to be as hyped to hear is using resistance training to improve all of those different physical capacities that you need to actually skate. So we can use tried and tested methods to improve things like jump height, power, strength, recovery time, endurance, all of those things that we actually need to help us skate, to jump onto the ledges, to jump down gaps, to have long sessions. And if you train as little as 2 times a week consistently with the right exercises, you're going to notice massive improvements in literally all of those different areas. So I know in the skate world it's common to think that like, oh, when you get to your 20s, you're supposed to just feel destroyed, you're supposed to be throbbing on a regular basis, but nah, that's not true. And with resistance training exercises, you can literally turn the clocks back and get that feeling of strength and youth back, which is then going to change how you perceive the world. And on top of that as well, it's going to be even more important when you get to your 30s and beyond, because it's around your 30s that you're going to start losing muscle mass as just a part of aging. But resistance training has been proven to slow that process and to help you maintain and even put on muscle as you get older. So if you're looking for a resistance training program that's literally going to hit all of these different areas that you need to skate, then check out the MBD Skate Performance Program. I'm going to put a link down in the description below. So many skaters are already doing it and reporting massive improvements in how they skate and how they feel. So check it out, link down below. And last but not least, the third thing is literally just to improve how your body feels and functions in general, just by improving nutrition habits or recovery habits, maybe sleeping more. Making just tiny little changes in each of these areas is just going to accumulate over time and leave you just feeling much more energized, more vibrant, and that's really going to make a huge impact on how you perceive the world and how skateable the world actually is. So I've already done a load of different videos on all of these different topics that you can check on the channel right now. So there you go, the world is not objectively fixed in one way. If you've been thinking that you're never going to get better at a certain thing, improve a certain trick, improve your pop, you're wrong, mate, all right? How you perceive the world and what you perceive yourself as able to do is closely connected to what's going on in your body and your mind, and there are so many things you can do to work on these different things and literally make the world more skatable, to make you better at skating and change the perception of what you can currently do. So that's it for this one. I'm going to leave this area with homeless people's pants lying all over the place and get back home.